Start singing that music. That's what you got to do when it's the fifth chapter. There it goes. We're ready to get things underway here on the fifth chapter with Brian Jelinek. I'm Dennis Fithian here on this Thursday, August the 19th. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being in. And we got lots to talk about on this Thursday. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well, man. A little hot and groggy, but we're here to go, and I'm ready to go, man.
Dude, it is hot. It was, yeah. I know it said 82, 83, but man, I didn't get the read, what it said, like what it feels like, but it felt like it was in the 90s today, man.
I went for a little drive today, rolled down all the windows. In about 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, I need the air. I was sweating profusely in my car, so it was a hot one, man. It was hot, but we're here in nice air conditioning in the Fifth Chapter studios.
Yeah, well, that part's nice. Maybe one day we'll be out. Like I could envision, being out on a deck, having some lights and things, and
cold beer in hand.
No Delta variant, people actually hanging out. I mean, we've been close to some of that stuff, so
yeah.
But it's not happening. But we do have a lot of things that are happening here with Detroit sports, and let's give you that book of what we're talking about. There it is, as you see it. Right there, we're going to get to Miggy, and then coming up in the fourth chapter, Jack Morris. That was some big news over the last few days, and the fifth chapter, which a lot of times we were doing some wagering. We will be doing some wagering. We got to figure out how we're going to do it when football gets going. We got to make sure that we're not only showing people what we're betting, but we're keeping track of what we're betting. And I'm jumping in. I didn't take advantage of any of those, like, deposit $20 and, get $200 and everything. Everybody was going crazy, when it first came out. But I was just looking today at one of the books, and it was like, if you deposit $5-10, you get, I think it was like $200, and you have to make 8 bets, but you got to make them all in like the first week. And you don't actually get, the 200, but if you win, you do get that money. So it seems like a pretty good gamble, to take, to go out there. You make 8 bets. If you can win 5 of them, even if you just win $25, if I'll put $5 down, if I win $25 and if I don't, I still have my own $5 to play with. I mean, that sounds like a big time win. So that's the first thing that I looked at. Maybe there's better. I know all kinds of people are like, use my name, use my code, all those things. I get that because people get free money when they do that. But I did take a peek at it, and that's, football's coming up quick. So,
oh God, I am so ready for football season, man. As much as I love talking Tigers, I'm a big baseball fan. I am just, after today's performance, I am ready for football, man.
Yeah, I watched it. Let's get to the first chapter, and that had us in an afternoon game, the conclusion of a 6-game set at Comerica, which was really a memorable 6-game set. As Miguel Cabrera was coming home, and he was trying to get one magical home run to get to 500, and each and every night, it was must watch. Whatever, set your DVR all the way through, go see what's going on with the Tiger games. And you know what? The packed ballparks, and having just the energy in there, and having Miguel going for this
500,
this magical home run. It really was awesome the whole time. But there was always this part where if he didn't do it on this homestand, it was going to be like a little bit of a letdown if he didn't end up getting 500. Now he's got the Tigers hit the road for 5 games, and the question to you, I think, and the first question is, and for Tiger fans out there, you can answer it as well on the chat if you're watching Facebook, wherever you're at. Do you want to see Miguel now? Do you want him to stay cold home run wise, power outage wise, and not hit a home run over the next 5 games, or are you done with it now? I mean, that's the thing.
The way I'm looking at it is, remember when Miggy was chasing for the Triple Crown? I think he was in Kansas City in 2013, and Jim Leland at the time took him out of the game, and it was in Kansas City, and everyone gave him like a standing ovation, all that. So at this point, I don't really care if it's at home or on the road. kind of just wasted a 6-game homestand, and I need it to happen because that's all I'm thinking about when I look at my phone for Tigers updates or I'm watching the game. Like, Zach Short hit a bomb today, couldn't care less about it. Like, I need Miguel Cabrera to hit that 500th home run. I don't care if it's at home or on the road at this point.
Well, the weird part is I'm with you. Like, everybody's just looking for the home run.
Mm-hmm.
But he's up there even with the bases loaded, you know, and he clears the bases with a double, and, you know, the crowd's cheering and everything. But I'm sitting at home. It's like, no, that's all right. But I wanted to see the home run. I mean, he had 4 RBIs in it. He had a good game. Tigers blew it, as you said. But, you know, you just want to see him knock it out of there. It is cool because you also know that after 500, you see the ticker for wherever he's at, less than 50, whatever it is. To get 3,000, which will, again, that'll be a great milestone.
Yep.
You do want to see those at home.
Oh,
now we know he's not going to get 3,000 this year, so that's going to be into next year.
Yeah.
And next year, it's a different ball game altogether because the Tigers, you know, this year, you know, it was the outside chance, and it took on some water this series that they were going to, you know, have this outside chance at getting to 500, which would have been cool, or above 500, which would have been great. But or very good. I don't know if it would have been great, but it would have been good for where they're at.
Wait, hold on.
Competing.
Fith, are you kidding me? 500 this year would have been awesome after how bad they were last year and the year before. I think 500 would have been no pun intended, like a grand slam. Like, it was just 500 would have been amazing this year to see this team go 81-81 or 80-82, something like that. That would have been fantastic.
Fantastic, awesome. But yeah, I stopped short of great. I mean, I feel very good. Like, it's great going above 500. I know, all things considered, maybe it would have been great, but
do you know when I felt great? When that crack of the bat from a couple nights ago, Miguel Cabrera's long out. Should we pull that up real quick?
Well, wait a second. Now, that was last night. So
yep.
The ballpark is packed, and, you know, it feels like you got Shohei Ohtani's on the mound. Like, I mean, this thing is there is electricity in the air, that humidity and everything else. And, you know, it goes all the way through the game, and it gets down. What was it, the 9th inning or 8th or 9th inning? And Cabrera comes up, and he did have this final one. And it felt like, you know, I've been to plenty of games, and I've done it myself, where, you know, even a short fly ball to center field, you're like, oh, it's gone. You know?
I know, yeah.
But this one, for a second, felt like maybe it was going to be 500. Yeah, you have that video? Let's see it.
Oh, let's pull it up, man. Yeah, that hurt. I saw that. I saw that in real time, and I stood up, went like that. Oh my God! And then you hear the and then that was it. That hurt.
Yeah, I'll just go back. You know what? I saw Wojo did a piece of some quick math of all of Cabrera's at bats and how many home runs and everything, and it's really just 4% chance of. And then if you looked at this year with just the 12 home runs, I mean, there's a chance that he doesn't. I don't know if it's a good answer or what kind of chance you want to look at, but there's a realistic chance that he won't get it over the next 5 games. And I don't think over these next 5 games I'm going to make sure that I'm setting my timer like, oh my, I gotta be there and I've got to watch every one of these at bats. Yeah, so they would be fine if he did it on the road, but I kind of hope that he doesn't get it here and he comes back home, because it was so cool to see the packed ballparks. Packed ballpark, because there's just it brings that atmosphere, and it's something over the last year with this pandemic that, you know, we took for granted, but then you're like, man, you really missed it today. Like, and all through this, like, there were a couple times where you know, Cabrera, and it got hit the one time. You know, they walked him another time where it wasn't even close to the crowd. Just like they're going bananas. I mean, it was awesome just to watch. You know, sitting there, that's some real theater. And I want that. So I hope he doesn't get it on this road trip, and I hope he does come back. And I hope that you know, he hits it into the crowd, and some lucky fan you know, snags it, and then, you know, becomes some kind of cool story with the fan, you know. But who knows? That's a wild card. We don't know the whole thing about where the ball goes. I know everybody's talking about it, but it is also something I like. Going on the road and have some, where they at in Toronto for the next 3 games, having some J fan, you know, snagging. I mean, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
It would be kind of cool, though, in Toronto, because they're just getting back to their stadium and all that. But if you're backing up a little bit, I think every at bat for Miguel Cabrera is must-see TV at this point. I don't care what's on, what games, who's talking about what, NFL preseason football. I am tuning in every time Miggy steps to the plate, without a doubt. I want to see it in real time. Like, it's absolutely must-see TV. I will stop what I'm doing when he gets to the plate.
Well, that's fine. And you know what? You hope for all these, like, you hope that if he does hit one, maybe there's a Tigers fan that's going to be, in Toronto and wearing a Tigers jersey, wearing a Cabrera jersey. You know,
that would be pretty cool.
That would be. So, those are the kind of things that you do hope for when it comes down to it. And this chase for 500. Let's see. Keith is jumping. It's good to see Keith.
Oh, it's always great to see Keith.
I know that on Facebook I follow my friend who has a hot dog stand, and he's had it for over a year now. But when he first had the hot dog stand, like, I was always commenting like, I want a hot dog, and I was always hitting like. And like after 2 weeks, it nominated me, or it named me the #1 fan. And like, he gave it a little trophy or something. And I think Keith, based on his feedback, he might be the #1 fan. Here he is talking about Miggy, saying it looks like Miggy had a productive day, but just couldn't put one out of the park. Might happen on the road, maybe not. 47 hits till 3,000. So, yeah, not going to happen this year.
Would you rather see in person a 500th home run or 3,000 hits?
Yeah, a home run. Like, what I would like to see is a 3,000th hit that was a home run. Maybe that. I would go with the 500. Today, Wade Boggs, I think, did it too. When Cabrera was up and the bases were loaded, I was like, ooh, this would be nice. Like the one game, it was 11-0, and I don't know. There was a lot of talk like, oh, we don't want to see him just get some measly home run in an 11-0 game or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with that. But no, you get to the point where you'd like to see it, perfect. You'd love it to be a walk-off. You'd love it to be a grand slam.
Oh, yeah.
One that, the Tigers win the game at least or something like that. So
has there been anything like a walk-off home run for 3,000 hits? Is that a thing? Because I know Jeter. I remember seeing Jeter's live on TV when he hit the bomb off David Price for 3,000. But
I don't remember. But you know what? Just today, I was on TikTok, of all things.
Oh boy!
And I was scrolling through, and it had Nolan Ryan was going for his 5,000th strikeout. And they had former President George Bush there, was with his wife. I mean, and the crowd there in Texas, I mean, it was just, they were going bananas. Like, so Ricky Henderson is at the plate, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, Hall of Famer, all those kind of things. And he's up there, so they got 2 strikes, and so everybody's just going nuts, and he strikes him out, and it was great. He tipped his cap. So it was electric, and so that was the thing. I'm thinking, man, you really want it to be at home, so the crowd, like, they'll give him a ovation in Toronto and everything like that, but not like they would do it at Comerica. And even today, when you looked at the game and it was hot, like we talked about, I mean, I'm looking out in left field, and there's all kinds of seats that could have been had.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, if he is going to hit a home run, it's probably going to be to right field where that one last night was. I mean, that's usually where he hits it anyways, but is there a chance that he could have yanked one into left field and actually put it just over the bullpen? There was, I don't know, it was about half full. And to go out there and think, man, you can get a piece of history, whatever, if you think it's going to be worth, 50,000 or a meet and greet, whatever it is. I was surprised that there weren't more people there.
Sideshow Raj is joining the chat saying over under 600 career home runs for Cabrera. Hard under. Yeah. Hard under.
What I hope, so he has 2 years left. When he hit 12, he's got 12, and maybe he'll end up with 15 this year. So, that'll put him at, 502, 503. Could I see him hitting 30 more over 2 years? I don't think he's going to complete the contract here in Detroit. I think ultimately, I think as early as next year that they would have to cut him midway through the season. I mean, there's a reality to that. Maybe he makes it all the way through this year, and then it would be the following year. Maybe he, has some kind of renaissance where he's healthy, and he is, over the last 2 months. I mean, you look at his OPS, it's way below average, and just 12 home runs. That's not anything you want from a designated hitter. So even if he's getting $33 million, he's got a 690 OPS and he's hitting, 250 with 10 home runs. I mean, you can't have that on a team where you think is going to be competitive. So I think by midway next year he'll be done. I think he's got 15 more home runs in a Tigers uniform. So I think he will some other team give him a chance at that point? I'm going to say he will end at 514. That will be his number.
So what do you deem unacceptable for him in the later years of his contract? Like, if he put up 250, 20, and 80, you keeping him or getting rid of him?
Well, yeah, I mean, that sounds like something that you would keep him for, but next year you got to be competitive. And you look at an average, OPS is, I think you could look it up, 720 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's in the 600s. You want better than that. I mean, he's just has 12 home runs this year. You want your designated hitter, to at this point in the season, certainly have him over 20 and closer to, 30. So he's not anywhere near the numbers. And we all knew that he wasn't going to be, he wasn't going to have the production that was going to justify giving him 30, whatever he's making, 32 million over the next year and then 32 the following year. I think that, I think what the Pistons did, they cut that $45 million check, whatever it had to be for, maybe it was more for Blake, maybe because it was 2 years, maybe it was like $90 million. They had just like $90 million on fire. But you saw, that was the price of doing business. And, get the 500, get the 3,000 hits. I hope he gets refreshed and looks like, he can be on a team with a packed ballpark and help the young guys out. He can be the DH and Torkelson will be up and Riley Green and let's go. But I know there's a reality. There's more of a reality. I would say it's closer to 60 to 70% that at some point, 2-3 months into the season next year, that the Tigers are just going to have to say, hey, here's your $65 million that you have remaining. And, thanks for the memories.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's probably going to get the Albert Pujols treatment at some point and just get DFA'd, and then he's going to go somewhere else, like some competitor that needs just some sort of bat or some sort of name in their lineup.
I don't know. I didn't think anybody would sign Pujols, and look at him. So he's out there with LA. So maybe Florida will take him back, for a year. They don't got anything going on, give him that. Would he go down to Florida? I could see that.
That's a big ballpark, man.
That's all right. But I think it's for sentimental reasons and for ticket sales. And Miami probably won't be going anywhere. So 615 with the Tigers. Could I see him then hitting another 10, 625? I'd put the over and under at 530 for Miguel Cabrera career.
That seems fair. I could see anywhere between 520 and 530. Absolutely. Just he doesn't have much left in the tank. It's that simple. It's tough to watch, but
you know what? When there's a 60-70% chance that he's going to be gone by next year after a couple months, there is. I mean, so you're saying there's a chance at 30% chance. Yeah, I am saying that, and so that's the one I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for the other side. I'm hoping that he does find it, and that just look at him. It's been fun. Unless you're just, I guess there are a lot of those, bitter sports fans or whatever. But it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
You're gonna have to fill me in a little bit going into the second half of this first chapter about Bill Freehan. I just know I saw that he passed away, and that's really about all that I know about Bill Freehan. I know he played both football and baseball at Michigan, but I didn't even know he was a Tiger until I looked him up today on the internet. So,
yeah, well, you know what? Bill Freehan was before my time, but the one thing growing up in Detroit, and there's a look at Freehan right there, is that Bill Freehan was the catcher for the Tigers' 1968 World Series team. And if you ever see the final out, Bill Freehan is, he's the one that's, jumping up and catching the pitcher in his arms as they go and celebrate, the 68 World Series. They won it, 35-45, their third World Series victory in club history. That was it. And then, really the biggest one socially. And even though 84 is the one, I like the most because actually I was alive.
Yeah.
And, 35 was the city of champions and all that. But 68, because of what it meant socially and everything, that was the big one for the Detroit Tigers. And, he was their all-star catcher. And he's got, there's a lot of people that are talking about him getting into the Hall of Fame. He's this close. I mean, he could get into the Hall of Fame ultimately. I always thought that he was as close as possible, but just on the outside of being in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, I heard a lot about Bill Freehan growing up, and then there's a couple of iconic pictures. If we were talking about the most iconic pictures in Detroit sports history, you would get to the Tigers. You'd think about Gibby in '84 when he's got his arms up after he hits the 2 home, after he hits the one off of Gossage. He's got his arms up. That's pretty iconic. But I think this, if it's not that Gibby one, it is the play at the plate in the '68 World Series where Lou Brock doesn't slide. The Hall of Famer from the Cardinals, he comes around and he's just trying to stand on the plate, and Freehand's blocking it, and it's as close as possibly could be. I mean, you can go back and look at the replays. He was called out, and it was a huge play, and it's a great photo and all of that. And there it is for Bill Freehan. I would see, Bill Freehan coached baseball at Michigan for a little bit, but if you there was they always talked about this when I did some play-by-play for Michigan baseball for a few years. So you'd get the Big Ten record book out. And stuff.
That's a nice little plug right there. Nice plug, man. Yeah.
Whatever. It happened. And it was a long time ago, but you'd get the record book and you'd start looking through, and you would look at some of the numbers in college, and Bill Freehan set the Big Ten regular season record for batting average, and
585.
It's crazy.
That's insane.
All of it was, and that would have been for the season. But there's the Big Ten, numbers only are incredible. But the whole thing there, just monster numbers in college. So they always talked about Freehan that way.
If we're going to the pros, some of the research that I did is that in 1967, which was his best year, he finished third in AL MVP voting. Like, I didn't realize he was that good. I mean, he was really good, especially when offense was down due to all the pitching and all that. He was really good.
Well, he played 15 years in Detroit too, and and there were there's a lot of numbers that you look to. I think there's a combination of home runs and maybe extra base hits.
Yeah.
At the time he retired, there were only 2 other catchers, I think, in baseball history to have more. One was Yogi, and I don't know the other, Dickey. I think Bill Dickey, maybe, I don't know. But so people always point to the All-Star, the All-Star appearances. They had 2 All-Star games back then.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an 11-time All-Star. So you say, wow, 15 years, 11-time All-Star. That sounds like, you'd be a Hall of Famer. 11-time All-Star sounds like you'd be a Hall of Famer. But I think some of those you get, and I'm not trying to, he was very close to getting into the Hall of Fame. It would have been cool. Mm-hmm. And it would be if ultimately he did, but just on the outside. But, great Tiger, great in Tiger history, and hadn't heard anybody say anything bad about Bill Freehan. He's, people talk about Billy Martin or something.
Yeah.
These guys hard drinking, hard lying. People talk, they always say nice things about Bill Freehan.
Yeah, one thing I saw too is that Bill James ranked him as the 12th all-time catcher among catchers in his book. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, Bill James knows what he's doing.
Bill James does know what he's doing.
He does. All right, there's chapter 1, unless we see this. He's talking about pool holes.
I find that kind of hard to believe too. I didn't realize Albert Pujols was that amazing until I looked up all of his numbers. Like, Pujols was really incredible. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, the player that I always thought that was Miguel Cabrera compared to the most was Albert Pujols.
The machine.
There you go. All right, we're on to chapter 2.
Let's do it. And that's bringing us into a video that Michigan man Dennis Fithian wants to make fun. Oh, excuse me. That's why I can't do intro reads. We're talking about Lions preseason football and Leonard Thompson passing as well. My bad, everybody. Totally read the wrong chapter.
That's all right. That happens. And so we got preseason game number 2 that's going on. We only have 3 preseason games, which is better than 4. But
totally agree.
Not as good as 2, but I don't want to make it sound like there was ever some like heyday in the preseason where you thought, hey, preseason football, but there did seem to be like at least more of a conformity with NFL teams. Like you would have the first game, you would see maybe a series or two or three. You get to the second game of the preseason, and then you would get maybe the whole entire first quarter, maybe into the second quarter, and really they would call it the dress rehearsal. How many people?
Yeah.
And you would see maybe the entire half, and even a series in the third quarter when it came down to the dress rehearsal. But then last year they went out there and had no preseason and had an NFL season. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
And so we know that they know that we know, and they know, and everybody knows that they only do this so they can get 2 more full freight season ticket packages on there. So they sell their 8 games, but you have to buy the 2 preseason games. You got to buy the parking for those. It's a complete rip off, and everybody knows it. They build it into the television contracts where all the advertising's on there too, all these different pre-games and everything, that they're doing in there. And it is, it's a lot of garbage. I mean, and we know that, but we do see like the inconsistency now. Sean McVay, he doesn't play anybody. He didn't play the first string. He didn't play the second string. He treats it like it's a Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
Other guys want to play. Tom Brady likes to get the reps. I watched him the other night. He just played 1 series and he was out. But I was looking today at some of the Lions notes, and Dan Campbell made it sound like Jared Goff wasn't going to play. And Boyle, the backup, and Blau, those guys didn't practice today. They're banged up, so they signed some, I guess you'd call it 4-stringer, guy that played in the XFL that I've never heard of. That might be your starter for the Lions on Saturday night. So there's, there's not going to be a whole lot, to take in on that. Now, DeAndre Swift got back and practiced, and that's good. But, when you don't have your starting quarterback out there, it's hard to take anything with the offense. You're not going to have a starting running back either. Now, maybe you can look to some guys if you're going to watch on defense. If Okuda plays a series or 2 and he's lined up, Steelers got some great wide receivers, very good wide receivers. And Big Ben's going to make his debut. So, there might be a series or 2, but, not a whole lot where you're jumping in and, and thinking about anything that's going on big time with the Lions in their next preseason game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Preseason football, it's on, and I like watching it. I never really like watching the Lions. I like watching other teams just because, like I said, it's football, and I'm going to watch it. But seeing guys like Jake Fromm and I'm not forgetting Davis Wright play for the Bills, like I don't care about that. One thing I did care about was Jared Goff looked really uncomfortable and jittery in the pocket, even when it was clean and all that. And I wish I could see Jared Goff play on Saturday. It's probably really unlikely, but I just want to see him clean it up a little bit because I still do believe in Goff.
Yeah, I thought he looked good in the first preseason game. So you and I differed from
a little bit, yeah.
I go back, I can remember that when the Lions would play, they played the Browns a few times, and I can remember taping that game and actually rewatching it again. Of course, I had to do a 4-hour radio show by myself the following day, so I was looking to pick up any possible thing that I could. But I'm glad I don't have to do that. Or like you said before, good shout out for yourself, like a humble brag or something. There was a time for 9 years I did the Lions post game, but for the first year I was on the network there, and so that I had to do a post game. I think the first, maybe the whole 9 years. Now that I'm thinking about it, was the network so you get to the preseason game number 4, and you had to be on for an hour. And you know what? They didn't tell you to not blast the Lions, but it's a network, so you're not getting on there and saying, "Oh, this is SOL, they suck."
Yeah.
You basically, for the first hour, have to be a little more tame. Like, hey, what did you think of the third string linebacker? I tell you what, after 10 minutes of doing that, there's most of
nothing
Detroit,
to talk about.
Well, most of Detroit is programmed to call in and say, these guys suck and everything's going on. There's not a whole lot. It's not very entertaining. It's very difficult. One of the more difficult shows to do that. And, back when the Pistons were no good, like doing a Pistons Tonight show, like Hey, nobody cares. Nobody
that's
cares.
the reason why. That's the reason why I don't really like beat writers for that example. They just have to hype up the team and all that. I understand they're all good at what they do. I like them, but reading, you're like, what are these people talking about? Like, they just have to be positive for the team. I can't stand stuff like that.
I think the guys that work for DetroitLions.com, they have to do that. But
the
guys from the Free Press and the News and Meineke, they do a lot of feature stories, and there's nothing really to blast a team on in the preseason necessarily, especially if you have a new regime like Dan Campbell. If there's no sense in getting in and writing Dan Campbell's going to fail and it'll be an SOL type situation. You're not going to write that story. So it's being a beat writer in the preseason is tough. I mean, you can only write so many Don Muehlbach stories, and now he's done.
That's right on cue. Beth just put this up on Facebook. What do you guys think of the Lions letting Mule go on his 40th birthday?
Yeah,
he's a long snapper. I get that he's been here since 1935, but he's a long snapper. It's not that big of a deal. Let's get over it.
Well, he was here for 17 years, and would you rather, cut a guy before his 40th birthday or after his 40th birthday? Yeah, but the NFL's a ruthless business. I mean, we know that, and just like those guys. So when you see them holding out for their money and everything else, you remember days like Don Muehlbach. This is not a hey, let's pat everybody on the back and send them on their way. And there is a point to what you're saying, I wouldn't.
He's a long snapper.
If we took 100 Lion fans out of the stadium, I don't know if any of them would be able to identify Don Muehlbach. I don't think I would. And I've been in the locker room for the past 17 years and practices and all that. I don't know if I know what Don Muehlbach. You know what? And Don Muehlbach, when you're a long snapper, that's good. It's like a referee. You know a good referee when you don't hear their name.
Yeah.
And Don Muehlbach, the only time you botch a snap, you just really screw something up, you're like, oh, this long snapper sucks. He did his job. He was professional. He had to do it for the Detroit Lions in the last 17 years. It was a really, really tough time, but he got paid well, and he played the second most games in Lions history, behind Jason Hansen. So, he's got that going for himself. But I don't, it's a business. And
yeah, the only reason I knew who Don Muehlbach was because I followed Sam Martin on Instagram for a bit. And he would always post things about his special teams crew of him, Matt Prater, and Muehlbach. That's the only reason I know who Don Muehlbach was. So it's like you said, if you don't hear,
for the last 4 or 5 years, they're always like death, taxes, and Don Muehlbach. It looked like he was going to be off the team for a few times. And then what's his name? The punter. From the Colts that now YouTube.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, he loves special teams guys. He was getting out to, he was putting Muehlbach out there, putting him up on his shoulders and saying, hell yeah, this is the guy, man. Let's go. He's got that going for him.
I'm a big fan of Pat McAfee for that reason. It's always like punter and kicker highlights of tackling somebody for the brand. I love that stuff. And
long snappers involved in that,
For the brand, man. For the brand.
And sometimes you get that when you're out there for whether it's play-by-play guys, snap, hold, kick. You hear the coaches talking about that. It is the important part of the mechanics of a field goal or a punt, You got to get that. I guess you don't have a hold when it's a punt, but definitely the snaps involved in all those. And I know, and we all know that there was some trouble with a snap one time for Michigan. So we're all reminded about just how important those snaps are when it comes down to it.
Oh God, I remember that. That was an all time. I still can't believe stuff like that happened.
Keith hates the Lions. I know that. If Keith was a beat writer, the stories would not be all that great. When if Chapman suddenly was hired for DetroitLions.com, man, he'd be putting out hey, this team sucks. Will they finish in last or second from last?
I know. Chapman would be fired. Chapman would be fired after an hour of being a DetroitLions.com writer.
Yeah. Keith would submit his stuff, and they're like, "We're not hiring this guy. This guy hates us. This guy hates the Lions." Well, speaking, what? When you go back as a youngster, and Keith is around my age, you realize that people always say 1957 one playoff win. But there was a guy that passed away this week, and there he is, Leonard Thompson, number 39. Now, this was from my era. If what I remember about the Lions back in the day is they had Freddie Scott, Dexter Bussey, and Leonard Thompson as a wide receiver. And if you see the face mask there, it's something that really, stands out. He looked like a linebacker. Well, he started out as a running back for the Lions and then moved to wide receiver. And I saw a picture today, and it was from 1983. And I remembered exactly where I was on that day. I was, playing football out in the street as a 12-year-old. And the Lions were in a playoff game with the San Francisco 49ers. And I remember right out, my friend across the street, they were having a party. Well, they were watching the Lions, and they called everybody in. They're like, the Lions are going to win this playoff game. Everybody come on in, So we went off the front lawn and went in, and I don't remember how much that we watched the final quarter there. It was the Lions against the 49ers and Eddie Murray. The one thing you mentioned Prater earlier, the Lions have always had, and we mentioned Jason Hansen, who played the most games in Lions history. Before that, there was a guy named Eddie Murray. He was a great kicker. The Lions have always had great field goal kickers. There was a year or two in there. Always. They drafted one that they didn't before they got to Prater. But Eddie Murray's got like the most makeable field goal. I don't know, was it 43 yards, something like that? I don't remember exactly. It's for the Lions to beat San Francisco, and San Francisco goes on, to win 4 Super Bowls with Joe Montana and everything else. But here's the Lions with Billy Sims, and they missed that kick. And I remember this guy must have been drunk, my friend's uncle, because I remember thinking, this guy's a lunatic, because he went around to every kid in there and he said, you guys never root for this team. They suck. They'll never, it was just like, wow, man, like, take it easy, dude. It was like, we were all wanting him to make the field goal and everything, but he didn't. But the picture was, I think it was in the Freet, was of Leonard Thompson, like sitting there on the bench, like, with his head down after the 83 loss against the 49ers, where, they could have won a playoff game, things like that, could have been way different for this franchise. They win that, or, the same thing, when you get into the Barry Sanders years, if they would have won some more of those, if they didn't allow, Brett Favre to, to throw that ball to Sterling Sharp.
Were Sanders and I'm going to keep saying Fournette, Thompson ever teammates?
No, Leonard Thompson retired way before Barry. Okay. Barry would have come around in 89, and Thompson, I think, retired in 85, so they missed each other. But he was on the team with Billy Sims. Okay. Leonard Thompson was. And here's Keith. He loved Leonard Thompson. Fastest, didn't catch a touch of passes, but made the most of it. One of his favorite and underrated players ever. R.I.P. Leonard. Yeah, I'm with you. That's the old school.
God, I have no idea what you guys are talking about with this.
Well, we're talking about the missed field goal against the 49ers. Keith remembers they were out of timeouts, rushed a field goal. It was pretty much why Murray missed it. Yeah, I don't remember the exact operation of the whole thing. I actually thought that I was way younger than that. Like, I would have guessed, over the years, I always thought like I was 8 or 9 when it happened. It was, I can remember being out there and that uncle telling everybody, watch this team. They'll never do anything. And he's just like, I was like, wow, man. That guy was probably drunk and, he probably had money on the Lions. But that picture of Leonard Thompson is something that was, I saw in the paper today. RIP to 39.
39 is a cool number too. That looks good in a Lions uniform like that.
Well,
back in the old school unis.
You can't get, if you're a wide receiver, you have to have a number in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But because he started out as a running back, they never made him switch. You know what? He never switched his face mask either. So you'd always felt like, why would you be a wide receiver with a linebacker face mask? But it was basically because he was a running back.
It was like a Devin Hester type situation. That type of idea where random number, wore number 23, but even though he was a kick returner, he also played a little wide receiver and a corner, stuff like that.
Well, it happens in college a lot where you see guys come in as, whatever, the offensive lineman, and next thing you know, they start out as a tight end and they put them down on the line. But yeah, Yeah, that's the thing that went on there. It seemed like a little bit of a loophole. Like they could have, because there's not many guys that did that. Everybody later they let him get into the teens, but I don't think you can find many wide receivers that that wore numbers in the 30s or 40s.
No, I can't think of one.
Really good well, I can't either, and it might be a really good trivia question to go back for somebody, and you can do that with Pro Football Reference. We need another intern, to get on there and say. I would guess that Leonard Thompson has the most yards, catches, touchdowns of any wide receiver in NFL history that wore a number in the 30s. But prior to, maybe 85 or something like that.
I couldn't tell you a single thing about stuff like that back in the day. We'll do some research over the weekend for it, though.
All right. Well, so that is chapter. You ready to move on?
Let's move to chapter 3, man. This is where our Michigan resident Stan is going to make fun of MSU football for a second. This video circulated around on Twitter, and I think it's totally normal, but you wanted to hop on and make fun of it, but here's the video. Yeah, but
so I'll just say this, look, I put it. It's one of these things like Chris Solari from the Free Press took the video. He was at practice and he took the video, and suddenly Michigan fans around there blasted him. Like, it looks like they're in regular season form, and then even State fans were like, couldn't you have shot a different video? That was not the most flattering video. And Solari's just like, look, I'm at practice. I just took a minute video. That's it. It's not always great catches or anything else, but I did find it entertaining. Like the one, the first catch. We'll go back. We'll play it in just 1 second. Keon Coleman is number one. He's a guy that he's going to try to play basketball and football. And they said some things in practice that he stood out. He's a big guy, and if you see that first catch, he hauls it in. And these are the kind of things you watch at practice. You're like, okay, that looked pretty good. But the second guy, it's a terrible throw. It's a terrible attempt, and it looks like you could have just pulled anybody, out of a bowling alley and told them to run.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the third guy, it's a real embarrassment. I don't think he has his foot right on the line. He has a false start as a wide receiver, which if they're going back and film, they're going to say, "What are you doing, you clown?" That's like, make him run, and then he goes out and falls over. So we can go back the first one, and we'll cut it after the third one.
Yeah,
Coleman. You know what? You as somebody, if you go down these practices, you just take whatever you can out of them. But you see, he looked pretty good. Just whatever you can do, just running around, turning it upfield. But the next two guys are really a joke. Let's see it.
All right, let's run it back. Yeah, come on, man. It's just
you got to do that. You did have it. You're supposed to have your inside foot, so he did line it up right, but it was still a false start.
Yeah, it's still a false start, and I can have Michigan fans making fun of that all the time. But the only thing I can say to that is that. So we got you Trump there. Who cares? It's just practice, man. Obviously, people aren't going to be perfect every single time they do that, but those were some pretty egregious mishaps there.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to put up for a second or two. One thing that is pretty interesting is that if you look at the calendar, 2 weeks from tomorrow, Michigan State will be in Evanston to take on Northwestern. So we are that close to getting the season underway. And
God, I'm so excited. I
am too. And you know what? Going back again and playing like I don't want to call myself an old man, but playing like the back in the day card. Back in the day, there wasn't the Labor Day. The games were not spread out like this. This is only a development of something I would say that's only happened in the last 10, 15 years where, they'll play a game on Thursday. And then Michigan State, I love it. Michigan State plays on Friday. Then they'll have, Michigan be playing on Saturday. They'll even have a game on Sunday. And then they'll have one on Monday too. You'll have college football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days. before the pros, and it's awesome. And those usually you'll get there's just single games on the Sunday and Monday, but they'll try to have an attractive matchup. I haven't even seen which ones they are, or I have and I forgot, but it's a great 5 days, to get going there. And I do remember when they started it out, there was controversy for Michigan State. Like they said, we're going to play on a Friday, and everybody's like, that should be just for the high school kids. Leave that alone. Stand it alone. Don't interfere with high school football. And State was like, no, we're going to go ahead and play this. And, they don't do it every week, although they have even in the Big Ten, they do have selected games. I think they do play on Friday or something, don't they? So they have interfered a little bit with high school football, but the high school, they get upset about that. But I like how Michigan State kicks it off on a Friday.
I'm looking forward to next week. Should probably find some point spreads and all that to throw up for Western coming to Michigan and Michigan State going on to Evanston. So that'll be a good time in the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
I think State's getting a touchdown, and I think Michigan's favored by 17. That's I've looked at it a while back. That's what they were. So it'll be interesting. Northwestern's had I saw something yesterday, 2 key injuries, so maybe that line will come down.
I don't know. Going to play Northwestern always freaks me out as a Michigan State football fan. Just bad stuff happens on that field, and I love Pat Fitzgerald, but I just get freaked out every time we visit that stadium.
Well, you can't take, if you're Michigan or Michigan State, they both play them this year. You can't take, Michigan's got them in Ann Arbor. You can't take Northwestern. Like you used to be able to be like, oh, that's a win. Neither team's chalking that one up. If Northwestern beat Michigan State and they beat Michigan this year, that wouldn't be
that'd be awesome.
It'd be great if Northwestern beat Michigan State.
Well, I don't know. I don't have high hopes for Michigan State football this year. I wouldn't be shocked. I want them to win, but I just don't see them doing anything a lot this year. You think they'll be a bowl eligible team?
No, I went through it. You got to make your picks just to make them, see where you're at and what. I don't think they're going to win that game at Northwestern. I don't think they're going to win their game. They got a tough schedule here. They got to go to Miami. I don't think they're going to win that one. I don't think they're going to go on the road in Bloomington and beat Indiana. I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State on the road. I also think they'll lose to Purdue on the road, and then the Michigan and Penn State game at home, which that gives them 7 losses. So 5-7 is where I sit here right now. But you know what? If you're a State fan, you say, hey, we beat Michigan last year. This year we got them at home with the crowd. We can win that game. So you do that. You're 6-6. You're bowl eligible just like that. And you're going to say, hey, if Mel Tucker really wants to do something and get a winning season, can they go down and actually beat Northwestern or beat Purdue? They could maybe win both of those games. So you're talking about 7-8 wins. So it all depends. Like if you wanted to really, slam your fist down and say, I really believe in Mel Tucker, and let's see what, I remember the funny thing last year is I watched the Penn State game, the Michigan State Penn State game, and Anthony Russo, or not Anthony Russo, Peyton Thorne was getting his first start. So I was like, oh, let's see what this guy's all about. And I started watching midway for the first quarter, and the guy threw the first 3 possessions I watched. I'm like, oh, let's see what this Peyton Thorne's all about. Touchdown. He threw 3 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Yeah.
He ends up, and I had to go somewhere. I didn't watch the second half, and I don't know if I had to go anywhere. It was during the pandemic. I didn't watch the second half. But, State loses the game. In the end, you look at the numbers, 325 and 3 touchdowns, and they look pretty impressive. And it was the most, I think, as a Michigan State quarterback in a debut ever. But, for about an hour or so, whatever it was, until, I got a little bit more, I thought, man, they found their signal caller. So we'll see. I mean, they got the transfer kid, Anthony Russo, and Thorne. I would guess Thorne, but if you can find a QB, he's got a lot of transfers. Talking about Mel Tucker on that defensive side, see what they can do over there. They got the kid from Tennessee. Is it Crouch?
Something like that, yeah.
He was close to being a 5-star linebacker. So and they got some nice running backs. So I mean, they could be a surprise. I mean, if we were sitting here at the end of the year talking about State winning 7-8 games, I do know this: if Mel Tucker would come out and beat Michigan again, he would go 2-0, and you'd feel great about where State's heading and what he's able to do, and that might spell the end of Harbaugh, and so Tucker might come in immediately and put his stamp down there in East Land and plant a flag or something. So.
Jimmy H is out. Jimmy H is out at the end of the year, man. They're going to lose to Ohio State again. It's just going to be game over. They're done. He's done.
Well, I think everybody expects Michigan to lose to Ohio State, but just losing to Ohio State doesn't mean that he's going to be gone.
I don't know. I just feel like people are finally turning on him like that, and I don't see Jimmy H staying around that much longer.
Yeah, but it's not going to be just that game. Like if they go out there and they win 9 games,
no, of course not.
Final. Well, right. I mean, and they get a chance to they could win the over and under 7.5 if they win 8-9 games going into that game, and they don't get wasted in that game. Make a case for them staying around, but let's see.
I don't know,
man. Let's see what the feedback is saying here. We got Paul. He's got a power back. That's good. It's good to see him on there. Yes, I am saying that is accurate. Out of Washington State, Jason Hansen was drafted by the Lions.
No way.
Second round. That's right. And then he played the most games ever for them when he played 21 years for them. Here's Keith. He talked about that one already. Another one bites the dust. Get that song in. Owen Power coming back to Michigan hockey next season. Yeah, that's great. Owen Power, who was selected number 1 in the NHL draft, decides that he's going back to Michigan, which is so.
Awesome. I don't really understand the NHL in that regard. Does he still have the rights to the team he's under, or not? Or is that just like choosing to just go back to college in any other sport? Is he still under?
No, it's completely different than basketball. And a lot of people think that, like in football, that basketball and football should adopt these rules, and I would be for that. Like you can stay there for a couple of years, I think 3 years. So
the Sabres still. The Sabres still have his rights. Okay.
Yeah, you go to a college hockey game and you look, and when I was doing the color analyst as 2 years ago, you'd get the sheet, and next to it, they'll have the little icon of the team that drafted them, and so you'll know. Like when Michigan, I was in Minnesota, I grabbed the line chart, and I looked, and it's like, wow, man, all these guys from Minnesota, they got a lot of guys that were drafted in the NHL, but to get a guy that was going to be the number 1 pick, and we know what they have, like 5 in the first 8 pick, whatever it was. I mean, it's something incredible. 3 in the first 5. I think that's what it was. 3 in the first 5. Maybe those guys will decide to come back too, and it'll be a great time down at the Yost Ice Arena. Have you ever been in the Yost Ice Arena?
Yost Ice Arena is a very good time. I've never had a bad time there.
No, great time.
No. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get Beth and Keith, and we'll head down to the Yost Ice Arena.
That's exactly what to do. Keith can tell me how bad I am at my job.
I don't remember. I don't think it's ever happened at the number 1 pick going back.
No.
The Sabres keep its rights. Keith asking just like you. Yes, they do. He will have them. So there we go. That is pretty cool.
All right, let's move on to the 4th chapter. And that brings up our buddy Jack Morris. Jack Morris has been suspended indefinitely by Bally Sports Detroit. Dennis, what's your reaction about everything that went down?
Well, I think people know what happened. He used the mock accent when Shohei Ohtani came to bat. And then later, he apologized. I was watching the game like a lot of people. And when I heard it, I cringed. And then it wasn't a surprise to, hear him come back and make an apology. And when I heard the apology, to me, I was like, that's smart. Whatever, he was trying to be funny, and, it wasn't. And, then he came back and had the apology. I was surprised to see the next day that people were like, your apology sucked. And I was thinking,
it
really?
Did kind of suck. The apology seemed forced, and it sucked.
I mean, I didn't think that live, so that's my point when I watched it. But when I saw people say, look, when you have to say, I have been informed, And it's like, oh wait, so you've been informed that his apology did seem a little bit. No, he said it was brought to his attention.
Yeah.
So it did seem, going back maybe a little bit insincere. And then he said, if I offended anybody. So I would say that's a learning for everybody out there. If you screw up like that and you're given the chance to go back, apologize and be sincere. Don't say, if I offended anybody, say, hey, I offended Otane. I shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't say, well, they're basically, twisting my arm, telling me to do this. And, I didn't think that he needed to be suspended. Like if they wouldn't have suspended him and he would have been back in the booth, I would have had no problem with that. I wouldn't be sitting on here saying he needs to sit down for a week or two and have sensitivity training. I wouldn't have said that. Meanwhile, they did it. And I also don't think that it's totally heavy-handed or they're out of line for doing that. I think, Jack Morris, who was really a jerk when he played for the Tigers and how he treated reporters and, him and Gibby, they got a lot, they get older, they softened up and everything. But, can Jack Morris learn something? Can we all learn something about, like, there are a lot of people like, what's the big deal? He's just having fun. Well, making fun of people's accents. If you talk to people that are in the Asian community that have had to deal with these kind of things their whole life, you know what? They don't think it's funny, or they don't just blow it off, or they have to. We're trying to evolve, and so Jack can learn something there. I think firing him would have been overboard. I do think that there was the point made about, well, what about Stephen A. Smith? He went out there, and if Jack Morris was black, and I think there's points to that. Like, if Jack Morris was a minority and did that, would he have maybe got more of a break? I think you can make a case about that, but we do see that, and I think with Stephen A. Smith though, with ESPN, it's a different role. Like, even though what Stephen A. Smith said and then doubled down, you can make a case was worse. But Stephen A. Smith is a provocateur. I mean, he is on there for hot takes and yelling and screaming. They want him to, like, everything that comes in, to have an opinion. They don't want just some let's just play everything right down the middle. So there's going to be some of that when it comes down to Stephen A. Smith. He's not going to remember that a tight end doesn't play for the Chargers anymore, or that he's hurt. He's just going to be rolling out there and entertaining. And so those things. I mean, there was a point in that, but I guess my overall point here is I'm all right with how Bally Sports handled it. And I think, Jack, a little sensitivity training, I think could do him good. And I think everybody, taking a look at it when you get one of these kind of situations, saying, hey, did I feel like it was funny? People like being offended, especially get on a computer.
Yeah.
I hate the Tigers. I hate more. What about Stephen A. Smith? All of that. It's like, take it for what it is here. What did we learn? Why is it happening? And then, okay, let's move forward.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I think Bally Sports handled it perfectly and saying that he's going to be suspended indefinitely. I think, especially with the sensitivity training, I think that means they're going to bring him back. Personally, I don't think Jack Morris should come back, kind of for that reason. In the same half, just I don't really like the Tigers broadcast very much. But I do think it was handled properly. The apology on air, I thought, was absolutely horrible. It felt like it was forced. It's like, oh my God, like, sorry I offended some people. Like, it just felt very half-hearted. But overall, I think Bally Sports Detroit and the Tigers basically made it sound like he's going to be coming back after doing sensitivity training, being on indefinitely. I'm not sure if he'll be back this year or what, but regardless, I think that they have to make a decision about Jack Morris by the end of the year, because they don't want this cloud hanging over their heads over like spring training next year and the offseason and all that. I don't know. I think it was a really bad look on Morris's part to do that. Just like you, I was watching the game and just went like, ooh, like I got a little weirded out, got a weird cold shiver going down, seeing what was going to happen next. So overall, terrible look by Jack Morris. Personally, I don't want him back because I think he's terrible, but that's a different argument, I guess.
Well, I thought that was part of the story too, just watching it unfold on social media. A lot of people just weighing in. When you have a bad baseball team, like a lot of people like, bring Rod and Mario back. Well, Rod and Mario, they were here when the Tigers, they had packed ballparks like
Yeah.
they were for the 6-game homestand, and they were stars. Like, you could say they were superstars. I mean, the Paws, Rod and Mario, the signs down there, people loved them. I mean, people love Tiger baseball. People love going to the ballpark. And part of the story with Jack Morris was just what you did there. A lot of people like, I don't let's get rid of this guy. I don't care. And the one thing, like, Jack Morris is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the great Tiger pitchers of all time for sure. But if after the season the Tigers just moved on and they just went with Simo, or if they just went with Dan Petrie,
oh dear
or
God,
if they just went with Gibby, I don't think people. You might complain like right now, but I don't think that there were, especially if the Tigers were winning next year, I think people would be fine, and there would be no issue with any of that. People like to complain about the broadcasters. I get that. So you can have your opinion, rotating them around, throwing all the different guys in. What about Shep? All those kind of things. But I think if they have a winning product next year, people will then like the broadcasters more.
Dude, I don't know about that. I just think that all the analysts that are on Bally Sports Detroit right now are terrible. And I think, like you said earlier, I think it's a perfect excuse that if the Tigers want to move on, this is a perfect way to make that happen. But going to Simo is, I think, a downgrade. Going to Dan Petrie was probably the same, and just I don't know what to do at that point. Gibby, I love Kirk Gibson as a guy, as a player, and all that, but same thing. I feel like he's reading from a teleprompter when he's broadcasting a game. Just all the color analysts on the station are just awful in every way. It's so boring, and I understand that you can say it's because the team's bad, but I honestly feel like even when so-and-so hits a home run, like Zach Short hitting a home run, just there's no energy in the booth at all. Like, the Tigers may have a better chance of just putting me and you out there because I think it would just lighten it up a little bit. I don't know. They're not good.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with any of them. Each Morris out of all of them would be the one that I don't. He doesn't really bring anything. The thing about Gibby is that Gibby cheerleads a little bit too much and let's get him, guys. But if you listen to what he says, he's usually, when he's talking about something, as a guy who was a manager in the game, he usually points something out that I never even considered.
Well,
I work for something else, so I like that. Simo needs to broaden it up a little bit. It's always about barreling it up and making sure you're square. Like, he was a hitter, and that's what he knows, and that's what he loved was making sure you got the bat through the zone and you were squaring up and you can get the barrel of the bat. I mean, that's his thing. I think he would need to expand that a little bit. I like Dan Petrie, but I like Dan Petrie personally, so maybe that affects me a little bit. I don't have a hard time listening to him or watching him. I think he does a pretty good job. One thing, most baseball fans, and you're a younger baseball fan, maybe you're looking for more like a Pat McAfee. Maybe you're looking for somebody that's younger to get in there and yell and scream a little bit or show some personality. And I understand that, but remember, the average age of a baseball fan is 55 years old, and they pretty much, you're tuning in. You want to, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody that played for the team that's going to be able to talk the nuts and bolts, and it's just going to be kind of, playing it straight down the middle, but cheering for the team still. That's what they want. That's what the fans want. And if the team is good, I think they would get great ratings for that. So I don't know if you want to, who else would you want to put in there that you're thinking, like, people are saying, hey, put Austin Jackson in there. He was in the booth a few times. I heard him. He sounded fine. Obviously he's younger, but, is he somebody like Simo shows a lot of excitement. So if you're just looking for excitement, I think Simo shows a lot of excitement.
But he's an idiot. Simo's an idiot, though. Like, he has no idea what he's talking about half the time.
No, I think he knows exactly what he's talking about, but I think he's just limited, and he's pretty much, it's all about the approach or how the outfielder, it's just that's how baseball players think. I mean, I'm not sure who else that you would point to that you're thinking, oh, this guy's great. These are the people that we want to put in there. Like I said, if you wanted to, go completely, and I haven't looked at all the other 30 teams in Major League Baseball with their television crews, but they pretty much all have the same formula. You got your play-by-play guy, and then you got a former player that is going to be older. That's just going to give you the nuts and bolts. And some of them are a little bit more cheerleaders than others. And, with the Tigers, they've got an array of guys there. And, picking between Gibby or Morris or Simo and Petrie, all of them, they deliver what they're supposed to, to bring. Analysis and a little bit of favoritism for the home team.
I totally agree with that. Being the color guy for just regular local teams like that is totally fine. Kirk Gibson is incredibly knowledgeable, but I'd rather watch paint dry. Like, it's just so boring. That's the problem. I don't have a solution here because I understand that's how it is in baseball. The average age is 55.
Well, the solution is having a better team. The solution is when you have a better team, people are going to like the product better, and they're not going to complain about the announcers as much.
I disagree. I feel like regardless of the team's good or bad, you have to be able to tune in the broadcast and enjoy it. I mean, I can't imagine Shep and Jack Morris doing what they were doing in 2012, 13, or 14. It's just they are so freaking boring. And I don't have a solution. I don't know if you can bring in some random younger person to do the games. I'm sure you can. I don't know who it would be. But going back to the point, this is a perfect reason to shove out Jack Morris and try something doing Gibby full-time or I guess Simo full-time. You need to change for Bally Sports Detroit.
Well, they might, and they might go to, instead of having the revolving 4 analysts, they might just go down to 3. And that would be a possibility. To say put somebody else in there younger than Shep or something, the play-by-play guy, like between I think people like Mario. Like, I know enough people that over the years, like if I would have brought up a topic like, hey, what do you think of Mario? Oh, you get a lot of people calling it this guy. I'm a little tired of him talking about, the way he calls a home run. I had a friend who hated Mario and Pemba, wanted anybody in there except Mario and Pemba. But, Mario did a nice job. I think Shep does a good job. I think that if the team is good, that next year you won't hear as many people complaining about Shep. And there's another thing about Shep is that when he did Michigan basketball, he first got in there, like, basketball, the nuts and bolts. I thought, man, you know what? Shep's able to call the game. But you know what? After the first couple of years, and I don't know when it hit, Shep started really coming into his own. And, by the end of him being a Michigan basketball announcer, I love the way he called the game, man. He had all kinds of excitement and catchphrases and gave you everything you needed. I thought he did an A+ job, where when he came in, I was just kind of like, he sounds like anybody else. And I think you need a little bit of that time, as a broadcaster as well. One thing that I know about Shep is that he will work really hard. He will listen to his broadcast. He will take input, and he'll try to get better. And, along with the team getting better, my guess is that, Shep would get better too at what he does.
I don't know, just looking through, like, I feel like Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond, when the Wings are terrible, they're still doing a great broadcast, still a lot of energy and all that. I just don't see with this crew. It's just that simple, and I'm not sure what they'll do. Maybe Shepard will get better over time, but I feel like a year and a half.
The one thing about Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond, for nearly 20 years, the Red Wings were a dynasty. So people love those guys. So even when the Red Wings suck, they still have that in their back pocket. Like, these guys are icons. But Ken Daniels is pretty good. Ken Daniels is on. He could be the announcer for any team in the league, and they would like him. I mean, he's fine. So he's one of the best. So that's a tough one to get in there. And he's hockey through and through. So there you go.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm just being a 25-year-old millennial. I don't know. I can't stand it.
I think that everybody has opinion about announcers. Like, That's it. I mean, you either like them or you don't. That's the way it goes. Not many people are like, I don't mind. Let's see if anybody else had anything. Josh Lewin, Paul wanted to bring on. I don't know what Dave is. Dave what?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Keith agreed with me, though. I just want to throw that out real quick. Just saying, Keith agreed with me. I agree with Brian. I don't think he should get his job back, and he's not very good at his job anyways. Thank you, Keith.
All right, well, let's try to be good at our job so we take it to the Fith chapter.
All right, man, let's do it.
All right, I got a picture. Like we talked a lot about Cade Cunningham and everything. I wanted to put it up here in the fifth chapter, and this is again something subjective, like announcers and what the Pistons uniforms will look like. And Big Sean is an advisor. The rapper from Detroit. He's an advisor for the Detroit Pistons. He put up a picture where he was wearing a long coat and he was wearing some of those old teals. There he is right there. You see the teal, and he's wearing, I think, the teal pants.
He's got the teal shorts on, yeah.
Shorts, yeah, not pants. And he's wearing that long coat. He did point out that it usually takes a little time to get a third jersey or whatnot. People have strong feelings when it comes down to those horse uniforms for the Pistons. The Pistons really sucked when they had those unis. I would be against them wearing that particular one, and then I would totally be against wearing the teal ones. But if they wanted to do it for a night, I'd be all right with that. But they have the Detroit Rocks. What does it say? Detroit Motor City or whatever.
Motor City.
They had those charcoal ones where they seemed like they wore them a half dozen times or something.
I thought those were cool.
Well, I didn't have a problem with those, but it seems like that's what Big Sean's going to sprinkle these in, and maybe they'll have 6 or something out of them. And it seemed like Cade might like them because he was wearing a shirt in Vegas that had a little teal on it. So, maybe Cade likes teal. And look, if Cade likes teal,
I like teal.
Yeah, and I like Cade, and the team's playing well. I found that I'll have an opinion on a jersey, and if the team wins or they're playing well, I end up liking the jersey. If they don't, I end up not liking it. But if I was the advisor on those, I would say, no, I hate them. Wear them one time. I don't want to see them any more than that. But, that's where I'm at with them.
When it comes to uniforms, it's sometimes half the reason why I'm watching games. Like I watch Miami Heat games all the time just for those sick Miami Vice jerseys. So I do think the Pistons need to do something. I would personally love to see them go back to the bad boys, like block lettering and all that, those old school unis. Because I love the red, white, and blue combo. I think they look great. But just make it more of that like retro 80s, early 90s type look. I'm not down for the teal very much.
I hate the pink Miami jerseys. Just like
How?
I hate the Jazz. The Jazz throw like one of these like yellow and brown ones that they,
How can you hate those? They're great.
Because they look like they should be on Miami Vice, out on a boat, not playing basketball.
That's the whole point of the thing. It's Miami. Those uniforms are amazing. It's probably one of the best basketball uniforms in the association right now. That is the worst take you've had on the show, without a doubt.
Well, we can be completely on the opposite sides of that. You like the Jazz ones too?
Yeah, I do. I like 9 times out of 10 when NBA teams do like throwbacks or alternate unis, I'm a big fan of them. Like those weird Brooklyn Nets ones with like the parentheses on them and all that. I think they're sweet. So, like I said, 9 times out of 10, I love an NBA alternate uniform.
Yeah, what I found over the years, the uglier that I'll see one, there's always somebody like, you kidding me? Those are awesome. So
that's exactly it. It's usually younger people who love it too.
Yeah, I don't know. Like if the team wins, I like the jersey more. They lose, not so much. But we don't have to worry about the Pistons at least wearing pink ones, maybe teal, but not pink.
Oh God, those Miami. I'm gonna get you a Miami Vice jersey for that reason.
Give me some shorts if you're gonna give me something. That would be the one. All right. Hey, thanks for everybody for tuning in. We'll be back on Tuesday. We'll be that much closer to football. Maybe Miguel Cabrera will have his 500th home run. We'll see what the Lions do in their exhibition game in Pittsburgh. And for Brian Jelinek, roll that music. I'm Dennis Fithian. We will talk at you on Tuesday. Good night. Thanks for watching.